Hey friends, we're Kenny and Elle, and we're the creators of Grow Children's Ministry Curriculum and Annual Strategy. And in this video, we're going to show you how to plan your entire year using the strategy and components of Grow.
Yeah, now if you're not using Grow, that is totally okay. We will tell you all of our secrets anyway, because we would love for you to steal our strategy and make it your own. And if you are using Grow, then this video is going to help you see how you can take all of the things that you get in your downloads and put them onto an annual calendar. We even made this really easy for you by giving you a downloadable version of all of these cards that you'll see in this video so that you can print them, cut them out, and be totally ready for your meeting. Now, we made you lots of other goodies to help you plan your year too, so make sure you grab those from your downloads if you haven't already.
Yes, and behind us, you can see a fully assembled Grow strategy board. This is an entire year of kids ministry planned out in 6 key areas. In just a second, we're going to take this entire board apart so we can rebuild it together step by step. And for the rest of this video, we'll walk you through the areas where we believe you need a strategy this year, one at a time. Discipleship, teaching, weekly programming, events, volunteer investment, and parent engagement.
And if you are going to build a board of your own along with us, here is what you're going to need: a big blank board or wall, a bunch of miniature index cards in at least 6 different colors, thumbtacks, markers, some of your favorite team members, snacks, and a whole bunch of coffee.
Yes, and if you're using Grow, we've provided all of these cards for you in your downloads. And then when you're done, you're going to have a big, awesome, detailed visual representation of everything you're going to be doing in your ministry this year. It's going to help you stay on track. It's going to help your team be in the loop. And a bonus, it's definitely going to help you impress your boss.
Yay! And just a reminder, everything that you see on this board and that you're going to hear talked about in this video is available as a resource that you can customize and use in your ministry this year through Grow. So every teaching series, every theme, every event or activity, every volunteer meeting, discussion, conversation, celebration idea, they are all included in Grow Children's Ministry Curriculum and Strategy, Volume 3. So if you are looking not just for the strategy, but for the resources to pull all of this off as well, head to growcurriculum.org for free samples, more information, and a chance to book a call with a friendly Grow strategist.
Yes, it is so much stuff. You are going to love it. All right, are you ready to do this?
Me.
Let's get started. Here we go.
Okay.
I know, meetings are usually pretty boring, but I am so excited for this one, and I hope you are too. That's because this isn't just another boring church meeting. In this meeting, you're going to actually build something, an entire year of kids ministry, and that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, so hopefully by now you have a board set up with the months of the year pinned across the top, kind of like we do, and you have the rest of your supplies handy too. So you'll need index cards, markers, thumbtacks, coffee, snacks, and some friends to help you plan. And if you've got all of those things handy, then you are ready to get started. So we are going to start by planning an annual discipleship strategy.
Yeah, and the reason we want to start with discipleship is because we want spiritual growth to be the lens through which we see everything else we're going to do this year. I know every church probably approaches discipleship and spiritual formation a little bit differently, but here's how we approach it. So feel free to steal this, and if it works for you, just do it. So we believe there are 4 spiritual habits that help all of us, including kids, grow closer to God. Those are spending time with God through personal spiritual disciplines, spending time with others through Christ-like community with both believers and non-believers, knowing and using your gifts by serving others according to your giftedness, and sharing your story by regularly engaging in conversations about who God is and what He's done for you.
Yeah, and these 4 habits are not anything new, guys. They have been talked about countless ways by countless numbers of people. Your church is probably already using them and talking about them, but in your own unique way. So feel free to change the language to fit your context if you need to. The words are not important, but here is what is. If these 4 spiritual habits are the behaviors that help kids grow closer to God, then we need a plan in place to help kids engage in these 4 spiritual habits on a regular basis, year after year.
So Here's how that looks in the Grow annual strategy. Since there are 4 of these habits, we break our year into 4 quarters, then assign 1 spiritual habit to each quarter, and spend 3 months creating experiences, activities, and tools all surrounding that one habit. So as you'll see, this becomes the lens through which we view everything else we put on this board. Because these habits are so significant, we don't want to just throw these onto the calendar randomly. We want to think about the most strategic place for each of these habits to live on our calendar. So here's what we've landed on.
Yeah, so if you are planning to kick off Grow for the very first time in, say, January, then we recommend spending 1 month focusing on all 4 of these spiritual habits as a way to give kids, parents, and volunteers a look at where you're headed and what your big picture strategy is. Now, we'll come back to what that launch month might look like in the next segment of this video. But every spring, after you've kicked off a new calendar year and are about halfway through a new school year, you've had plenty of time to build trust with the kids in your ministry. So we think that is the perfect time to go deep by focusing on the spiritual habit of spending time with God and challenging kids to spend time with Him on their own. So this year, to help you with that, we've created a family devotional for families to do together in preparation for the Easter season. Then in the summer, we focus on the spiritual habit of sharing your story, because many churches are already thinking about and planning for foreign or local mission experiences, and it's the best time for us to get our kids pumped up about the upcoming new school year and all the ways that they can share the story of Jesus with others in the coming months. So this year in Grow, we are providing an activity called the Glow Challenge that is designed to help kids talk with others about who God is to them and what God has done in their lives through Jesus.
Yes, and every fall, we focus on spending time with others because thanks to the new school year, it's the time of year when kids are already thinking about new friendships they're making with people and who they spend time with. So they're moving into new schools, maybe moving up a grade, joining new classes and new teams. There is so much changing in their social lives each fall that it's the perfect opportunity to get them thinking about the spiritual habit of engaging in Christ-like community with others. So this year in Grow, we're providing an activity called Friend Fest that's designed to help kids build relationships with others.
And then finally, every winter, we focus on the habit of knowing and using your gifts because the Christmas holidays are coming up, which means your community is filled with opportunities to serve and give. So this year in Grow, we are providing an activity called Give to Grow, where kids will have a chance to give to others who are in need.
So that's what the Grow discipleship strategy looks like.
Woo!
If you're using Grow, we're giving you all of these resources that you'll need to make all of these things happen with. So if you're not using Grow, hopefully we've given you some fun ideas that you can run with when it comes to the spiritual growth and discipleship of your kids. Either way, now it's your job to take this strategy, these ideas, and make them fit within your unique context and work out some of the details of what this might look like for you. Are you ready? All right, go. Hello and welcome back. Now that we have our discipleship cards on the board, it's time to move to our next layer of strategy, an annual teaching strategy. Now, if you're using Grow Curriculum, you know that we color code all of our resources to help keep them straight. Discipleship is always orange, and our teaching resources are always red. You can use whatever colors that you want, of course, but if you want to match with us, red is the color that you want for this round.
Yay for matching. Okay, now down to business. Each year, it is so important to plan ahead for the topics in scripture you plan to cover with your kids. And I know it's easy to fall into the trap of just choosing random curriculum or spending our weekends Googling free kids ministry lessons with no prep required, but we think you can do a little bit better than that, and we are here to help you make it happen. Because here's the thing, when we fail to plan ahead with our teaching calendar, we run the risk of missing some really important ideas, teaching only the topics that personally interest us most, and ultimately failing to give our kids a full and holistic view of God. And that is a really big deal. So please plan ahead, and this will help you do it.
Yes, there are so many ways to approach a scope and sequence for kids, but here's how we do it. The Grow Scope and Sequence will take kids through every major Bible story over the course of 3 years. And at the end of 3 years, we'll start all over. We spend an equal amount of time in the Old Testament and the New Testament. The Old Testament is taught chronologically through the course of 3 years, while the New Testament is taught chronologically every year, but with different stories. Always beginning with Jesus' birth and always ending with the early church. We will always switch from the Old to the New Testament in December with the birth of Jesus and switch back to the Old Testament in June, 6 months later. When 3 years are up, we'll start all over again in the same order.
Now, once you've identified the stories that you want to cover, make sure you place them on your calendar in order. But this is big. Don't forget to consider how you can strategically align your teaching calendar with the spiritual habits that you're focusing on each quarter. So this is why we're putting everything on one board so we can see how every aspect of our ministries work together and hopefully don't work against each other.
Yes, so here's a quick overview of this year's Grow teaching calendar and why we've placed them where we've placed them. If you're kicking things off in January, we recommend starting with Blast Off, our series that covers the 4 spiritual habits of our discipleship strategy. With Blast Off, you'll give kids a look at 4 habits by looking at 4 stories from the Gospels and how these stories teach us the importance of each of these spiritual habits 1 week at a time, and I'm going to put this card up in January.
Do it. Now, you may have noticed that there are actually 13 months on our calendar. That is because Blast Off is a completely free bonus month of curriculum that you get when you join Grow. So we'll give you 12 months every year, plus this free one-time series to help you launch really well. So February, that is where we really kick things off with the Grow Scope and Sequence, now that you've got your launch month covered. Now remember, the spring quarter is all about spending time with God, which is one of the reasons we like to make sure we're teaching about Jesus during that quarter, because Jesus, of course, is the one who makes it possible for us to be close to God. So in February, we will spend a month looking at some of the teachings of Jesus from the Gospels in a series that we're calling this year Real Love. Then in March, we will look at some more key passages in the Gospels as we talk to kids about some of the parables of Jesus. This series is called Revealed, and it introduces kids to the way that Jesus' stories revealed truth to us through the power of parables. Then in April, we'll spend another month in the Gospels as we prepare for Easter in a series called Level Up. Then we've got May. May is all about the early church as we move into the rest of the New Testament and discover how Jesus sent his followers out on a mission and prepared us with his Spirit in a series that we're calling Go. And since May is always the end of our time in the New Testament, after that we will flip to the Old Testament and stay there for 6 whole months. Now this June, we will hear some of the stories of Israel in the wilderness in a series that we're calling Epic. In July, we'll continue on in the Old Testament with the stories of some of the judges and prophets. And since these stories all have a lot to do with people making big changes in their lives, we are calling this series Crossover. Then in the month of August, we'll do a series that we're calling Brave, which highlights the stories of bravery from 2 significant characters in the Old Testament, and those are David and Esther, 2 really courageous, amazing heroes. Then in September, we will spend time looking at the life and writings of Solomon in a series that we're calling Wise. Get it? Solomon, he was pretty wise. Then in October, that is all about the life and ministry of Elijah and the amazing things that he saw God do. So this one is called Amazed. In November, as we prepare for the holidays, we'll do a series called Sing that focuses on the Psalms and helps kids learn to worship God like the psalmist did. In December, we'll then switch back to the New Testament because 6 months are up, and of course, Jesus is born. So in our series, The Main Event, we will look at Jesus' birth story in the Gospels as we celebrate Christmas. And Kenny, what's our last one?
Finally, to round out this year of our scope and sequence, we'll do one more series in the New Testament. This one's about how Jesus' coming gives us the opportunity to receive spiritual gifts and a place in the body of Christ. So this series is called Unboxed.
Yeah, so that is what our teaching strategy looks like for the year. But now it is your turn to go make this strategy work for you. So look at your church calendar. Figure out what stories and books of the Bible you want to teach, in what order, and in which months. Then find out if your church is doing maybe any church-wide campaigns or teaching series that will affect your kids, and then adjust accordingly. Think about the rhythms of your kids and your community and make adjustments to fit your church's unique needs. And don't forget to compare what you're teaching to your discipleship strategy to see how you can use both of these strategies to support and reinforce each other. And remember, this is all customizable, so take what works for you and adjust what doesn't work for you. The point is this: you need a teaching strategy. And when you align your teaching strategy with your discipleship strategy, you'll be able to focus and reinforce these big ideas much more effectively.
Yeah, so go ahead, build your board, make it your own, and then start dreaming about some of the specifics of what your teaching strategy could look like this year. All right, have fun. Okay, now for the next installment of our strategy planning. In this session, we're talking about a strategy for your weekly programming. Now, the last session was about your teaching calendar, and that was pretty intense, so you'll be happy to know that this next one will be a little bit lighter.
Now, when you begin to develop your teaching strategy in more detail, you will probably want to plan some interesting weekly programming elements. Things like special decor or songs, activities or experiences, things that are going to enhance that month's teaching. So this is really important because if you really want your teaching to stick, having a really fun monthly theme that reinforces what you're teaching is super helpful. So for this round of planning, we are going to assign a monthly decorating theme to each series, but they won't just be random themes like Pirates and Paul or Toy Story and the Exodus or something. They're going to be themes that directly complement the things that you're teaching.
Yeah, and when we say themes, there's a lot that could include, like decor, graphics, music, limited edition characters, costumes, props, puppets, activities, playlists. The possibilities are pretty endless. But remember, if you're using Grow, we've thought of all that for you. And if you're not using Grow, that's cool. Just steal some of these ideas and make it happen on your own.
Yeah, so here are the monthly themes that we're doing in Grow this year and how they connect with what we're teaching. So Kenny's going to put all of those up on the board for us. Now, for the series Blast Off, since we're talking about how to launch your faith in Jesus to greater heights, we will be using the theme of rocket ships and outer space. So think space-themed activities and games, decor and graphics that use planets and stars and rocket ships, coloring pages, object lessons. All of that stuff will all be outer space themed. Then when we talk about the teachings of Jesus in the series Real Love, which happens to fall during the month of February, our theme will be hearts. So you'll be able to actually make use of all of those Valentine's Day decorations and deals for your kids' ministry. Yay. Then in our series on Jesus parables called Revealed, we are doing an illusions theme. So rabbits out of hats, red curtains, optical illusions, you get the idea. That's because when Jesus told one of his parables, he made incredible truths appear in amazing and surprising ways. Then we'll teach our Easter series Level Up. We'll do a fun video game theme to help kids see how Jesus beat death forever. And when we talk about the mission of the early church in Go, we'll do an armor theme. And that's going to help kids remember their spiritual armor and the mission that we are all on together to share the message of Jesus with the world. Then in June, as we talk about some of the big epic stories of Israel's time in the wilderness, we will use the theme of comic books to tell those really epic stories in an exciting and compelling way. In July's series Crossover, when we talk about the way that the judges and the prophets called God's people to totally change their ways, we will use a theme that's all about changing direction and getting flipped upside down. And since August is all about the bravery of David and Esther, we are going to do a theme that reminds kids of some of their favorite stories of bravery and adventure. Then in the month of September, that is our series called Wise, when we talk about the wisdom of Solomon, our theme is going to be packed with books as a reminder of the ways that God wants us to keep learning about him and growing in wisdom. Then for the story of Elijah, we will use a science experiment theme. I'm really excited about that one, to evoke wonder and amazement, kind of like God did in Elijah's life.
Yes, and when we talk about the Psalms in our series Sing, we'll use the theme of music to help kids connect to God through worship.
And our Christmas series, the main event, will, of course, be Christmas themed, but with a pretty fun snow globe related idea or two as well.
Very cool. And finally, our series Unboxed, which is all about spiritual gifts in the body of Christ, will use the theme of presents to talk about the gifts God has given us.
I love presents. Now, for your church and for your context, you might want to switch up a theme or two. And even if you are using Grow, you might want to make some changes. And that is all cool with us. The point is, you need a strategy for your weekly programming. And a great way to make your weekly program more strategic is to give it a theme that actually complements your monthly teaching.
Yeah, so that's the idea. Draft up some monthly themes and stick them on the board. Once they're all up there, you might notice things like, I don't know, if this theme will fit with our group. Let's swap it for something else.
Yeah, or maybe every June your church does a big church-wide campaign and you might want to change up one of your themes to better connect with the theme that your whole church is on that month.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways you could do it. Whatever you decide to do for your kids, here's the point. You could be a lot more effective with your teaching by pairing it with a strategic monthly theme. And you can be a lot more efficient by planning all these themes in advance a whole year at a time. You don't want to do it month to month and then be scrambling every month to figure out what to do. So go for it. Plan away, like right now. Go ahead, do it. Have some fun.
Yay, see you in a second.
Welcome back. All right, I hope you're feeling great about your planning board so far. I know we are. We've already covered 3 areas that are all about your kids with discipleship, teaching, and weekly programming. But we've got one more strategy to talk about, and when it comes to your kids, and this one is your event strategy.
Yeah, now events are a pretty big deal for most kids ministries. They're a way to have fun, connect with families, get new people in the door, and create some excitement about what your ministry is up to. Now, those things are all really important, but if we're honest, we probably know that we can overdo it sometimes with our events. Too many events, too much money spent on events, too much emphasis put on our events. Now, events matter, but we've really got to keep things in perspective. That is why we are fans of keeping your event strategy really simple, because you can make a bigger impact each year if you choose to do fewer events with more intentionality. So here is our recommendation for keeping your event strategy really simple in your kids' ministry. Do one event each quarter. That's it.
Yep, and here's how it looks on our calendar. In the spring, when we're focused on the spiritual habit of spending time with God and preparing for Easter, it's a great time to host an Easter event for families. This year in Grow, we're giving you everything you need to pull off a fun Easter event called the Easter Escapade.
Then in the summer, remember that you've got a busy summer ahead of you, and so do families. So host a simple and fun event that gets families out of the house and having a blast together. This year in Grow, we are giving you an event called the Great Adventure Race that you can use either for families in your church or as an outreach to your whole community. And since you're talking about sharing your story in the summer, the outreach opportunity could actually be a really great way to tie that into your discipleship strategy. Then in the fall, we suggest doing another fun family event and maybe use it as an opportunity to let kids and families strategically connect with each other in relationships, since we're focusing on the spiritual habit of spending time with others. Now in Grow this year, that event is a fun and really affordable, which is a nice bonus, fall event called Mini Golf Mayhem. And then finally, in the winter, remember that families are probably pretty busy and a little bit short on cash leading up to the holidays. So do a simple, fun, and maybe even free event for families that allows them to make some holiday memories together. This year in Grow, we're doing an event called the Joy Jam.
All right, you guys know the drill at this point. Next up, you're going to take your event cards and put them on the board in whatever way works best for your church context, and then spend some time talking about what each of these events might look like and what your goal is for each one. All right, have fun, and I'm excited for you to plan your events this year.
Yay!
Okay, friends, you've now officially wrapped up all of your planning that has to do directly with kids. But now we're moving to another group of people that you lead, your volunteer team. We're convinced there are 7 ways to invest in volunteers, and all 7 of them need to be represented on your calendar. Maybe that sounds like a lot or overwhelming, but it's not, trust me, because when you put it on your calendar, it makes it easy, I promise.
Now, just to warn you, there are going to be a lot of cards for this annual volunteer strategy because we believe that if we want to be effective as kids pastors, we need to get really serious about investing in and empowering the volunteers that we lead. Now, when we do that, we actually multiply our influence, we increase the capacity of our ministry, and we give kids a better shot at building a lifelong faith because all the research shows that young people need just not one kids pastor, but a whole community of adults who are investing in them and in their faith. Plus, if you want volunteers to invest in kids, it's probably a good idea for you to invest in your volunteers first.
Yes, and when planning your year of investment in volunteers, you're going to need to consider these 7 things: volunteer events, meetings, discussion groups, one-on-one conversations, tools, communication, and celebration. And again, we know that sounds like a lot, but here's the thing. While all 7 of these things need to be built into your calendar, there are ways to build them into your calendar that aren't overwhelming. We get it. We've been pastors and actually developed this strategy while we were still working at our church. So we didn't have countless hours to spend leading volunteers. We were really intentional about doing the things that required the least amount of work for the biggest impact.
So with that in mind, let's go ahead and break down each of these 7 things and give you an idea of what's included in Grow for each of these areas. So first, we have volunteer events. Now, we have just one of these each year in the month of August to kick off the school year. This volunteer kickoff event is designed to be your one major vision casting moment of the year. It comes with inspiration, practical training, helpful tools, and relationship building to get your team off on the right foot. And with Grow, you already have everything you need to pull it off, so that's cool.
Next, we have meetings. Meetings are any environment where you are training volunteers on a specific subject related to their specific needs as a volunteer. If you can say it in an email, just send an email. Don't call a meeting. Save your meetings for the good stuff, the times where you want to teach and discuss and spend time with your team.
Yeah, now we wanted to get our team together in person every other month, so that's 6 times every year. But we already have an August get-together planned because of our kickoff event, so we'll count that as our first meeting of the school year. Then we'll skip September and put our next meeting in October. We'll skip November, but then we've got December, and no one wants to have an informational meeting in December, so let's replace our meeting with an in-person Christmas party. Then we'll add a meeting to February and to April, but June is the end of the school year. So instead of doing another formal meeting, let's do another party. And okay, that is 6 get-togethers with your team throughout the year, including your annual kickoff event and a couple of parties. That means you have 3 windows this year to train your team on a specific subject. So what do you want to train them on? Well, if you're using Grow, you have access to tons of volunteer meetings. Some are general meetings, while others are specific to a certain type of volunteer, like your special needs team or your small group leaders. However you organize this is totally up to you, but here's the point. Plan to meet with your team throughout the year in a rhythm that works really well for you. And when you do, teach them something really helpful.
Yes. All right. Next, we have discussion groups. A discussion group is a type of volunteer get-together that honestly transformed the way that our ministry's volunteer culture worked. In a volunteer discussion group, you flip traditional forms of volunteer training on their heads. Instead of you training your volunteers like you're the expert, even though you are an expert, a discussion group is all about asking questions that get your volunteers sharing stories, talking to each other, and helping each other solve their own problems. These discussion groups are about spotlighting your volunteers as the experts and learning from them and with them for a change.
Yeah.
How many of these groups you do each year will depend on how many volunteers you have. We recommend doing them at least once a year, but no more than 6 times a year. And when you do them, schedule them on a month when you don't already have an event, a meeting, or a party. So I'm going to put these on the board in the opposite months of those.
Yeah. And after that, while Kenny's putting those up, we also have one-on-one conversations with our volunteers. Now, these conversations are another way for you to connect with your volunteers, and we recommend putting these on your calendar every single week if you can, or at least every month. In these one-on-ones, the goal is to give feedback to your volunteers about how they're doing and to receive feedback from your volunteers about how your ministry is doing at equipping and supporting them. Next, we have one of my favorite ways to invest in volunteers, and those are your celebrations. Now, we are big believers that what you celebrate in ministry gets repeated, and that honoring your volunteers for who they are is a huge part of creating a volunteer culture that makes volunteers actually want to serve with you. So each month, we recommend celebrating a weird holiday with your volunteers in a way that appreciates them or that makes a fun memory with them. So maybe that is a DIY cupcake decorating station on National Cupcake Decorating Day, or a mysterious thank you card that can only be read in the mirror for Backward Day. Whatever it is, the point is that you take time each month to make your volunteers feel cared for. And sending weekly thank you notes and monthly birthday cards are a great idea too. So those are going up every single month. Next, we've got communication, because if you are going to invest well in your volunteers, you need to communicate with them. So we recommend communicating with your team every single week, which is why Grow gives you all the emails for the entire year, already written and designed, 12 volunteer tip videos to help them with some small but specific things, and a weekly volunteer huddle guide for those of you who get your volunteers together for a quick touch base before your weekly service. So all of those things will also be going up every single month. And then last but not least, we have tools. Now by this, we mean any resource that you give your volunteers that makes their jobs easier. So on the August calendar for Grow, we give volunteers tools like a volunteer handbook, business cards, a volunteer survey, volunteer goals, and volunteer t-shirts to get them ready for the year. Then we refresh some of those tools at the start of each semester in January and June. And that's it. You're done. You've got a full volunteer strategy on the board, or at least you will as soon as you get all of these cards up here, and we will as soon as we get all of our cards up there. So feel free to copy as much of this strategy and calendar as you'd like, then change the rest to fit your unique context. This volunteer strategy honestly revolutionized our ministry for the better, and we really hope it does the same for you. Because you are not just a pastor to kids, you are a pastor to your volunteers as well.
Yes, it seems like a lot, but honestly, your volunteers are going to love you with all the support and effort you're going to put into helping them be as great as they can be. So, Elle and I are going to take a couple minutes and finish putting our cards up on your board. You go ahead and do the same, and we'll see you when we come back.
See you in a minute. Bye.
Oh my goodness, you are almost there. Can you believe it? You've already planned so much of your ministry for this next year, but you've got one last area where you need to map out an entire strategy. The very last thing you need to strategize in your annual planning meeting is the thing we kids pastors always seem to save until last, how you'll engage parents.
Now, when it comes to parents, let's be honest, we could probably all do a better job of engaging them. For some of us, acknowledging that they even exist is maybe a good first step. But no matter how new or how seasoned you are at engaging parents in your ministry, we hope this strategy that we're about to unpack will give you a framework for your parent strategy that you can then replicate and improve year after year. So here we go.
All right. We're convinced the key to engaging and investing parents effectively is to plan an annual strategy in 4 ways. And you might recognize some of this language from our volunteer strategy. We're talking about parent events, parent discussion groups, parent communication, and parent tools.
So let's start with parent events. Now, like we've already said, we recommend doing the fewest events that you can manage for the biggest impact. So each year, we love the idea of doing just 2 or 3, depending on your calendar, strategic events for parents, and include those events every year in Grow. So in August, there is the Move Up Day and Open House. Those are 2 events that could be combined into one event if that works with your calendar. Now, Move Up Day, of course, is the day that all kids move up to their new grades and age groups. And an open house is designed to introduce new families to your ministry and expose them to your ministry philosophy and strategy. Then in October each year, we recommend doing a parent and small group leader breakfast, which is an event that connects the parents of your kids with the leaders of their kids, and then helps those adults connect over a common goal of influencing and caring for the kids that they both love. So we love doing this event in October each year because the school year is in progress. Small groups are probably somewhat somewhat settled and consistent, and there has been plenty of time for your small group leaders to meet and connect with parents before this event. And we love this event. At our church, we did it every single year, and within 30 minutes of our first attempt, we could already see our ministry culture shifting. It is an incredible event and opportunity for families. And on top of all of these annual events, don't forget that you are already including parents in your quarterly events that you do for kids. So be sure to think strategically about how to invest in parents in those environments too.
Yes. All right. Next, we got parent discussion groups. Kind of like we talked about with volunteer discussion groups, parent discussion groups are environments where you get to learn from and with real parents of kids. We recommend doing these in May and January or wherever you feel are the busiest or the least busiest months for families. Once you've got parents in the room, ask questions to tap into their expertise as parents of kids. What can you learn from them? What are their biggest struggles and how can you better serve them?
Now, Kenny's going to put those 2 cards up on the board. And third, we've got parent tools. Now, throughout the year, there are so many helpful and practical tools that you could potentially give the parents of kids to help serve and equip them. But here are just a few that Grow provides. Now, in August, we recommend giving parents a parent handbook to better understand your ministry's mission and strategy, volunteer business cards with the names, photos, and contact info of their kids' adult leaders, and an annual parent survey to help you learn about how to best serve and communicate with parents. And we recommend providing those same tools again in October at your breakfast event, and then also just having extras on hand for whenever you happen to need them. And then finally, we have parent communication, and we recommend sending parents an email once every month with information about what's happening in your ministry and resources that will help serve and equip them as parents. So in Grow, we've actually written and designed all of these emails for you. Plus, we created 12 parent tip videos so that you can send those to parents every month or reshoot them with members of your team. And finally, we give you monthly and weekly take-homes for your parents, depending on what rhythm works best for you and for your church, which you can print, email, or both. And so Kenny's going to be putting those up on the board, but that's it. There you have it. We are officially about to be out of cards as soon as Kenny wraps up, and this board is like looking so beautiful, don't you think? I hope yours is looking beautiful too. I can't see it from here, but I'm sure that it is. And now here's your final assignment of the day. Plan out your annual parent strategy for the year, but then take a look at everything that you've done and accomplished in this planning meeting. Is there anything that you'd like to change or tweak now that everything is visible? Are there any pieces of your calendar that you'd like to get feedback on before you finalize them? Is there anyone who couldn't make it to your meeting, but whose voice you'd really like to learn from before you finish your planning? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then go do something about it. Don't just let this become another unfinished project on your to-do list. Like, really do it and make it awesome. Now, we know that this is a lot to do and a lot to think about, but as this year goes on and your calendar fills up, you are going to be so happy that you did all of this in advance. So friends, thank you so much for hanging out with us, but more importantly, thank you for all that you do for kids and for the adults who lead and parent them. We know this kids ministry thing is usually a pretty thankless job, so if no one has told you recently, thank you. Your ministry is so important, and we are so excited that you've taken the time to be more intentional and strategic and prepared for this upcoming year of ministry.
Yes, guys, have a great rest of your meeting and a great year of ministry. Seriously, we love you guys. You guys are awesome. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Peace.